especially since we've been going without air conditioning for so long. Any air conditioning is pretty much worth it. So I haven't filmed with the camera here in a couple weeks. My folks came out, and usually my dad helps me with projects that take a couple people or are at least easier with a couple people. And so what we did, the first thing, and I think I mentioned this in a previous video, but the first thing was we were trying to get that mini split system mounted, and I'll show you that closer here in a little bit. But the problem was here in this corner, this was still stucco, and this piece of OSB was sticking out a little bit and needed to be trimmed down as part of this install. Plus whatever trim needed to be done was going to be a lot easier to do before this got mounted to the wall. So I decided that the first thing we needed to do was actually go ahead and replace this wall. And this is the last wall, this is the last exterior wall that we needed to work on. The problem was that over time, that bottom plate there had just gotten eaten away by bugs and broken down by water. It was 80 some years old or whatever, and didn't have pressure treated originally anyway. So what we did was we replaced that bottom plate with pressure treated plate, and also put a double plate on there so that it was a lot easier to attach the drywall on the inside. But it was already insulated from the inside, so we just had to basically replace the outside. And in so doing, went ahead, we reframed this upper area. I'll try to include some stills with this video. But we needed to create a more sturdy access long term. As soon as I started removing that stucco up there, it just was basically falling apart, and there was only a couple timbers on either side of it that were even being used as framing. So now we are, it's about I think it's like 32 inches squared, and we've got our house wrap up. Obviously the window didn't change. I considered reframing this and everything like that, but I can get away with the trim that we're gonna put on here. I can build this up without any issue. So that's what I'm gonna plan on doing, is I'll just build this up around it here, and paint and seal it and everything accordingly. But that leads us over to, drum roll please, ta-da. So one of my wife's co-workers who handles HVAC and facility maintenance for her work came over and did all the hookups for the refrigerant line, cut that to length, and then once I knew where all those were, I went ahead and ran some flexible conduit here and wired in the cutoff box, and just went ahead and just painted around where the cutoff box is going to be, and then I'll paint around everything else later. And then we've got all the wiring for the mini split. This is turned off right now, but here, this is all the inlet under here with the yellow. So we've got 2 hots and a ground, and then for the communication wires, you've got A, B, C, and those correspond with A, B, and C. And then you can see there's actually there's room for a 4th zone if I ever do that. I don't think I will ever have a 4th zone on this house, but it's there if we need it. And then I'm just going to go in today and I'll get some retainer clips that'll go on the wall to help this go, but there's no rush on that until I'm ready to, there's no rush on that until I'm ready to put up trim and everything like that. So you may be looking at this and thinking, why is there a bunch of exposed stuff? And I have decided I'm not going to go with the traditional plastic line sets. What I'm going to do is this line right here in the siding actually is about where my trim is going to be. So I'm going to mount a 2x something here. I have to rip it down and I'll drill through it and screw into this wall here. So I'll put a piece of 2x here and a piece of 2x on the other side, and then what I'll do is I'll find a piece of scrap siding, which we've got a bunch right here, and I will just cut it out to dimension using the same pattern that would be what's under the line set. So the idea is it'll have the siding on the outside, it's going to stick out, you know, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, 2.5 inches, whatever it needs to be to clear all these refrigerant lines, and then slap on the external siding piece there. So all you're going to see is this down here, and pretty much above the line with the top of the condenser or compressor up will be covered, at least up until that joist, and I may notch that a little bit, we'll see. And I'll shoot some expanding foam in those holes once I know that I've got all those refrigerant lines exactly where I want them and bent down exactly where I want them running to the inside. So that's the outside view, and I'll show you the inside view. And I did run a test. I hooked up 2 of the interior units in here, but not the 3rd yet, and I'll show you why here in a second. But this is what the ceiling unit looks like when it's got the grill and everything hooked up to it. And I've said before, but I'll say again, this is actually for this living space here, which will be the living room, dining, and kitchen. This is an 18,000 BTU unit, and then there are 12,000 BTU unit in the bedrooms. So there's one in the master, which is on the other side over there, and then this is what it looks like when you don't have the cover and everything on it. You can see all the communication lines are running into there. You got your copper lines here going in, and then that clear plastic tube coming out the top is actually what I need to do next, which is the condensate outlet. So I've got these 3/4 inch PVC, and what I'm going to do is they will run across here, and I've already got a condensate line running down in this wall, so it'll come over here, round off, tie in here, and then from that bedroom it'll come over, it'll pick up the condensate line that's coming in here, tee in there, come around and tee in there. So The challenge with that is getting all the slope and everything right so that it's always going down. And with these, the condensate pumps in these can actually go up like 15 or 18 inches plus 20. I don't really want to go more than a foot if I can work it out. So I'm gonna play with all the lines before I do any kind of securing or cutting or anything like that. And once I've got all those lines hooked up, then it'll go from the PVC pipe through a poly tube of some sort with hose clamps, and then that'll clamp into the tailpiece of the vanity, and that will give it protection via a P-trap, so that there's no gases or anything going up into the condensate line. Now, you may ask, why do it that way versus, just running it outside? I could have run it outside, basically doing the same thing, but I just didn't want to have another hole, and I didn't want to have the chickens, pretty much anytime there's moisture, the chickens will always just come around here. And so I just didn't want to have it going outside, having to worry about bugs going up into it and things like that, crawling up into it. So this, to me, was the best route. And again, like I said, it'll be protected by the P-trap. There may be a little trickling sound here and there, not a big deal, especially since we've been going without air conditioning for so long. Any air conditioning is pretty much worth it. So that is the rundown on what has been going on the last couple weeks. And you can see patched up the rest of the drywall in here. So now that I've got drywall, oh, here we go. I temporarily have hung this attic ladder. So I need to go in there and secure that this weekend. So my wife is actually going in for surgery next week, and she had to start a quarantine period prior to the surgery. So the benefit is she will be around to watch my son for the next few days up until her surgery, and I will try to get as much done as I can with drywall, with the condensate line, and with the ladder here, putting up insulation once I get the condensate line up in there to help protect from the thermal difference with this uncovered side here. This side actually stays really cool for the most part of the day, but when the sun gets over here and starts cooking on this side of the roof, then that radiates down and it gets a little warm in the house. So getting the condensate line up there, then the insulation, and then as I can work it in, the drywall, once the drywall's in, I can cut the holes, or as I'm putting the drywall up, I can cut the holes for the pot lights that I've already got the junction boxes installed up there for. And then once those are in, then I can wire them in after I put the drywall up over all of the electrical boxes. So try to get as much of that done as I can before my wife goes into surgery, because once she goes into surgery, she's not going to be able to lift 20 pounds for 6 weeks. So that means I am pretty much constantly going to be on baby duty. So probably not going to be much weekend warrior type work for me once that happens. So try to get as much done as I can, like I said, during this period. There's also the electrical in here, the ceiling fan up there. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link in the description when I ran that box up there. So just thermal protection for one, so that when we run these units, they can run as efficiently as possible. And then drywall and getting the electrical hooked up so that we can actually use the lighting throughout this main area in the living room. Still don't have a light fixture for this dining area right here, but I did go ahead and put a junction box up there so that we could put a light in there. But bathroom light would be nice, and bedroom light for my son's room. And then I can start checking more things off my to-do list, and then planning for what the next things are going to be. So if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Please share this video. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel and click the bell notification so that you are sent messages when we upload new videos. I did recently put a slideshow that shows the progress on the outside up to that last wall. So I covered that wall overview in this video. So as always, thanks for joining us, and God bless.